Kumar from South Asian University, and I'm presenting for the motion. Patents harm a patient's health. My highest regards to all the legal luminaries present here.
This is Ankit Jain. I'm from Faculty of Law, Delhi University. My regards to all the people present here.
So, Avnish, you will start now. This event, when I say start, you have to start speaking, and we will stop this watch at the moment of 6 minutes. Start.
Last year, the Supreme Court pronounced the judgment in Novartis case, and after that, a lot of hue and cry was made by the pharmaceutical firms as well as by the governments of developed countries. Indeed, the issue did not start with Bayer versus Natco, the first case of compulsory licensing, and it did not end with Novartis. The issue has been discussed at many national and international forums. The most important of them was Doha Ministerial Conference, where the parties expressed their grave concern over the rising prices due to the intellectual property, although a system which was established at Doha has still not come into force. If I come to facts, HIV/AIDS itself killed around 1.2 million people. These are the people who die due to non-affordability of treatments. Their age can be increased by 30 years, not just the grave diseases, but like malaria, pneumonia, tuberculosis. They all kill around 1 million people each every year, and the single reason for them is non-affordability of the medicines. Patents play a great part in it. India is criticized by European Union and by America for its generic drug industries. But when it comes to economic front, they themselves extensively use generic medicines. The share of generic drugs in the unprotected markets of USA was 89%. For European Union, it is different for different countries. For UK, it's 71%. For Germany, 75%. Overall, for overall supply of EU, more than 50% of the medicines are generic medicines. There is a lot of paradox in their political front and economic front. The reason for this paradoxical policy is affordability. Even it's difficult for the developed countries to afford medicines, patented medicines. Therefore, they go for generic medicines. The issue here is not just can they have profits, but the issue rather is that to what extent we can allow the firms to realize their profits when our right to health and in many cases right to have life is at stake. It was said by late Honorable Justice Krishna Iyer in the Ratlam municipality case that it's the paramount principle of governance that the state takes steps for public health. Industries cannot be allowed to have profits on the expense of public health. I believe this constitutional philosophy, it is still applicable in today's world. To uphold public interest, it's not just the responsibility of government or only just judiciary. Every institution, whether semi-government institution, private institution, non-governmental organization, they all are responsible. They all have responsibility for the public. The level of scrutiny might be different. The regulations may be different, but they are responsible. It was said by Chief Executive Novartis in 2006 that you don't expect for-profit organizations to meet the requirement of new drugs in a sustainable way. I believe it's a regressive statement. They have failed in a term which was very much emphasized by late Honorable Justice J.S. Verma, that is self-regulation. Self-regulation is the key to institutional integrity. I believe they have failed there. Today we provide free health care. At least in theory we provide, although it's not universal. People are dying even in India. But we can afford that only because there are a lot of generic drug manufacturers. Tomorrow, if we have to substantially rely on patented medicines, then our health system would crumble down for the simple reason we cannot afford them. And if it comes to health insurance, people cannot afford health insurance. 1/3 of our population earns less than $2 a day. How do we expect them to pay for the premiums of insurance? And if healthcare cost is going to rise, then definitely the insurance firms, they would shift the burden on the consumers. In the United States, more than 60% of the population cannot afford insurance. It is most of the time it is given by the employer. So I have to say that. Lastly, I have to say that the pharmaceutical firms, they have failed to provide health care to the people, which has resulted in the most precious rights, in the most sacrosanct right, that is right to health. and moreover, it has also resulted in compromising a basic norm of our philosophy, that people are not just the means to achieve higher economic growth, but rather they are ants for any economic activity in any sector. Thank you.
Stopwatch, and you have to answer it within 1 minute.
Okay. My question is, how will you ensure there is innovation in today's world when there are no patents?
Suppose a drug has been patented by a particular company, then other firms, they cannot work on this medicine without providing royalties to the original firm. And the net result is that the total number of researchers on that medicine would get reduced. And when the number of researchers would get reduced, then definitely the possibility of development of new drugs, the possibility of development efficient drugs would also get reduced. So therefore, the patents might have negative consequences on innovation. Thank you.
Wait for me.
No, you can start again. No? Technology is challenge when we need it most.
Start.
Very good evening to all of you. Since a long time, there has been a debate on the issue whether patents are good or not. Patents are actually a right of the firms who innovate. They innovate, they produce new drugs for the market, and for this, they got exclusive rights of production for a period, a fixed period for around 20 years or 30 years. So this is like a reward for them. But you have to also think, is it absolutely wrong? Because many people actually say that patents affect the health of patients. Patents actually not affect the health, but it actually help in their health. I can say with one example, there are still 7,000 diseases in the country, in the whole world, in fact, where we don't know how to cure them. We have only cure of around 500 diseases, and that is due to innovation only. And if we stop innovation, if we stop patents, we will stop innovation. Also, removing the innovation or finishing the patents will not serve any purpose. Because, for example, if we say today we can stop the patents, how will you reduce the import cost? The drug importation cost is one of the biggest factor in the high prices of drugs. A drug costing 25 to 30,000 in UK, it costs around 1 lakh to the distributor in India and 1,20,000 to the patient in India. Another thing that comes to our mind is, what are patents? Patents are like a reward for the companies. If you are taking them from patents, you are actually taking the reward from them. What the companies do is actually, they go through a whole process, a 4-step process: preliminary studies, test, clinical test, trials, and more than 80% of their tests are failed in the trial stage only. So they get approval in just 20%. So if we actually remove the patents, what we will do is we will actually incur more cost on them. They require patents because actually they need money for the future also. They need to do more innovation. But I believe this cannot go like this. I present a mechanism. If adopted, it can lead to a solution to the problem. This is a mechanism which I have built. First of all, first point of this is what the government can do is, we have a National Innovation Council in the country. What we can do is, we can join hands, our government can join hands with the companies which are actually innovating. And those companies which can be given a certain amount of money for R&D. Because the cost which the companies charge for around 20 years or 30 years is not the cost of the drug. It is the cost of their whatever they did in the past 20 years in the building of the drug. So what the government can do, first of all, is they can join hands with the company and help them in research and development. And that they can do by funding. Funding of all these companies can be done. Second, in India, from 2010 April to 2013 December, 1,001 drugs were patented. And out of that 1,001 drugs, 771 drugs were of foreign companies. So what we can do is, we can actually go for local production. And solution can be, they can produce locally and sell globally. So in this sense, what we will do is, we will actually remove the imports and actually increase the exports also for India, which can be beneficial for the economy also. Third, I also believe that there are some drugs which may not be produced in India. So for that, we can reduce their import duties, countervailing duties. And also, there is a big duty which is going illegally in the whole country. Because when a truck passes from Gujarat to Delhi, it has to give around 5,000 or 6,000 rupees as a normal official cost, but it has to also give around 5,000 to 6,000 rupees as unofficial duties. We can work on that. All the drugs which are of medical fields, which are in any truck, they should be painted with red. And all these trucks should not be stopped in any place in the whole country. Fourth, as I said about the local production, if the companies are coming to India, we can allow them to get raw materials and labor at a cheap price, or also at the companies, they can get the factories also at a very cheap price. They can be given land at a cheaper price. Another one which I would like to suggest here is, sometimes what a reward cannot do anything, or what profits cannot do, an award can do at that time. Hereby, I would like to propose an award called as Medical Innovator of the Year. It should be similar to Bharat Ratna or Khel Ratna, which we have as of now, and it can be named like Chikitsa Ratna of India or something like this. It should be announced every year on 25th January, a day before the 26th January, and it should be given by the President of India to any company who actually brings something new in the field of innovation inside the country. If we adopt all this mechanism, I believe we can actually provide a fair solution in which both the companies and the patients will have a fair deal. Thank you.
Yeah, my question is that you talked about that patents foster innovation, but on the other hand, as I already said, that when a company gets patent on a medicine, then other researchers, they cannot work on it without providing royalty to the original payer, and the net result is that the total number of researchers would get reduced. So how does it improve innovation?
I tell you something. The mechanism which I have suggested is, the companies can join hands with the government, and whenever they join hands with the government, obviously they can have a fair deal, because the government can allow the other companies also to work on it. Second part which you said is that, first of all, they can allow the other companies also, and second, what they can do is, they can ensure that they are not producing the same thing. Because that company which has produced, they have done a full lot of study on this. We cannot be unfair to that company.
You have not answered my question, I'm sorry.
Please,
How the... Okay.
You have asked the question, then the judgment leave it to us.
Okay, sir. Sorry, sir.
Okay, so the best part is that government can actually ask them to do something on their own and let the company do for 20 years or 30 years. Let them do it. Thank you.
Before we proceed, ladies and gentlemen, I request Chairman of Novartis, Sir Ranjit Sahani, to kindly present the token of appreciation to our honourable guest and the jury for the debate today, Major General Dr. Pavan Kumar. We welcome you, sir. And now, continuing the debate, I invite on the dais Sandeep BA LLB student, second year, institution OP Jindal Global University, Jindal Global Law School, Sonipat, Haryana. He's coming for the motion. The participant coming against the motion is Aditya Huda, third year learner, BA LLB Honours, Institution, Faculty Law of Jamia Millia Islamia University, New Delhi.
Please identify yourself first.
A very good evening to the honorable members, audiences, and my fellow participants. My name is Sandeep Bhalotia, and I am from Jindal Global Law School, and will be speaking in the favor of the motion.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aditya Huda. I study BA LLB in third year in Jamia Millia Islamia, Faculty of Law. My deepest regards to all the eminent members present here. I shall be presenting against the motion.
I will be presenting in the favor of the motion. Very first question which we could ask to these pharmaceutical companies is that what basic purpose these patents serve? Their basic answer will be that they are very useful because they helps in the innovation. The second thing which comes to our mind is that are they really allowing to access to the medicine by these patents? Then the answer of the pharmaceutical companies will be that, yeah, we are not hindering in any way to the access to the medicine. But their definition of access to the medicine is very narrow. Accessibility to the medicine never means that it is available in the market or it is easily available, manufactured, or there is enough awareness among the patients about that particular medicine. The accessibility means that it is easily affordable for the people who are really willing to buy it, who are suffering from the diseases because of which they want to buy those medicines. Now, there are a lot of problems associated to these patent national laws. Then there are international agreements which are creating more problems with the patent law in any nation. The first international law, as far as the intellectual property rights is concerned, was TRIPS agreement. It was accepted in 1995. But the positive side of this agreement was that it provided certain flexibilities to the various nations like compulsory licensing, parallel importation, and etc., through which they can easily fulfill their requirements if their own pharmaceutical companies are not so robust to compete with the developed nations. But my real concern is not the TRIPS agreement. My real concern is the trade agreements like the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, which is proposed by the USA in 2005 and till now it's still not being accepted. The reason why it is not being accepted is not that they are delaying it. It is being hugely criticized by the various groups of the society due to various flaws in it. The basic argument against this Trans-Pacific Partnership is that Obama usually proposes this, an advocate of this entire agreement says that it is a 21st century trade agreement. Exactly, it is the 21st century trade agreement. It's trading for the various pharmaceutical company at the cost of the health. There are various clauses in this agreement which need to be analyzed before reaching to any conclusion. The first and the foremost thing is it allows patents on the plants and animals, which is not being allowed by various other international agreements and the national laws. If it is allowed to have patents over the plants and animals, then the generic medicine, manufacturing industry of a particular nation will be get affected. A lot of people in the least developed nations are dependent upon the Ayurvedic and allopathy medicines. But if you get patent over the various plants and animals, especially upon the plants, then you will not have access to such kind of medicines. The second clause which we need to analyze is that it extends the term of the patent. It leads to the evergreening of the patent. In Indian law, India is not party to this agreement. It's still not been signed, but it have implications for the various nations because it decreases the applicability of the border provision. Under this provision, if a country, under the trade TPP agreement, if a country wants to export any particular kind of medicine to another nation, then that company has to set up its own manufacturing unit in that particular nation. Now the entire logic of having generic medicine is basically that it decreases the amount or the cost, decreases the cost of those particular medicine. Now if a company is forced to have its own manufacturing unit in another nation, then it will, of course, add to the cost of that generic medicine. Now, the third problem associated with such kind of agreements is that these agreements also lead to extension of the patent term. How initially we have under the TRIPS agreement that the patent terms should be allowed for the 20 years. But under this TPP agreement, if accepted, what will happen is that if it says that a state should extend the patent term beyond 20 years if there is a reasonable delay in awarding the patents for a 5-year. So again, that particular patent will be extended from 20 years to next 25 years. Then there is a specific clause in this agreement which states that if there is a particular nation cannot reject a patent merely on the basis that there is nothing innovative in it. We know about the Novartis case. And if the companies just replace one inactive compound from the composition of a particular medicine with another inactive compound and get a new fresh patent over it, then of course it will lead to the evergreening of the patent. And the medicines which cost hundreds of dollars for per dose in these international markets will not be easily affordable for the poor people living in the countries like the Nepal and various least developed countries where the capital expenditure, where the total per capita expenditure on medicines is less than $3 or $5. So with this, I would like to conclude my debate, and thanks for listening me so patiently. Thank you.